here at the 165th NJEA Convention. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce one of the great educators who is here. He is Philip McCormick, digital communication and information lecturer at my alma mater, Rutgers University, and a social studies teacher at Columbia High School, which is in
Maplewood, New Jersey.
One of the things about you is this initiative that you're presenting on today at the NJEA Convention, Beyond the Rainbow, the LGBTQ plus community. These students who fall into this, I hate to say category, what is it that teachers need to do, that we need to do to make students who are in the LGBTQ plus community feel included? Isn't that the goal?
Absolutely, and that's such a great question, and it's so complex, but I'm a firm believer that to teach people, we need to reach people. And we hear this concept of teaching the whole student. And I feel that good education is inclusive, it's inviting. Someone by the name of Emily Stile, who's done research on equity and inclusion, has talked about this idea of windows and mirrors. And she said one of the things that stuck with me was that good teaching acts as a window and both a mirror to students. So students are able to learn about other people, sort of a figurative window looking into the lives of others, but also are able to see education as a mirror reflecting their own identities. And a lot of the times that works for some people. Some people are able to get really good mirrors where their history and their experience is mirrored. But some students don't really get their own experience, whether that is by sexual orientation, gender identity, race, ethnicity. Sometimes their stories aren't fully told. It's often single stories that are represented. Oftentimes much of history is written from the story of men, of wealthy men, oftentimes white men, which I identify as a white man. So in some ways that was a mirror for me.
But those stories are also traditionally heterosexual, male, female.
Oh,
that's
yes.
the situation. That's typical. That's not inclusive.
No, it definitely isn't. So I think that just sort of, we can't undo everything and we can't create a perfect world overnight. In fact, we can't create a perfect world, period. But something that invites more experiences, more perspectives to the conversation, I think is valuable.
And that's what you're talking about in this convention.
That's correct. So my workshop, it's called Beyond the Rainbow. And a main thing about it is it will serve as sort of an LGBTQ plus 101, where we'll do kind of the basic sexual orientation, gender identity.
But after that, where do you go?
Yeah, so the latter piece is looking at this concept called intersectionality. And it was created, it was termed by a sociologist by the name of Kimberly Crenshaw. And she's a black female sociologist who addresses kind of this idea that we may have made strides with fighting against certain discriminations, but there's often this place where they intersect that we sometimes lose focus.
Are they blind spots for us?
Sort of blind spots you can think of. So just kind of the idea that, just thinking about LGBTQ plus advocacy is great, but teachers also need to keep in mind that our students are complex and they come with many stories, and oftentimes they might have multiple identities overlapping. For example, they may be a black gay male, or they might be a black transgender female. So there can be multiple layers of
as opposed to that's a black student, that's a Hispanic student. We are more complex.
Yes, and I think sometimes when people think of LGBTQ plus advocacy, we think of it as one sort of lens sometimes, and it's like, oh, this is an LGBTQ plus issue, let's fight it this way. But oftentimes we have to also include and be mindful of the way that other identities kind of play into that and other possible discriminations that people have to...
You're making a difference every day.
Oh, thank you.
No, you are. And so the fact that you're speaking here at this convention, the NJEA Convention, to a captive audience, I'm confident you'll make a difference. So we appreciate what you do every day, particularly those of us who have kids in the public schools. So
thank you. Thank you so much.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 30 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by New Jersey Sharing Network, TD Bank, the Turl Fund, supporting right from the start NJ, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, PSE&G, Atlantic Health System, and by the Russell Berry Foundation. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.